Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to our Eagle Lead presentation focusing on finding balance as a leader. Eagle Lead stands for Leadership, Engagement, and Development and is a speaker series debuting on campus this semester. It's comprised of presentations about the different colleges on campus, different leadership topics, and then community engagement speakers. Tonight we have the Interim Health and Wellness Coordinator on campus, Lilian Minor, and some of her peer health advocates, and they'll be discussing how to find balance as a leader. After they're finished with their presentation, there will be some time for questions. And just on a final note, this session is being recorded for future viewing. So you're all good to take it away.
So hi everyone, Allison, you can go ahead and share our PowerPoint and we can do some introductions. So thank you for that wonderful introduction. So my name is Lily Minor. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the interim coordinator of student wellness here on campus. So basically just focusing and working with other groups on campus to promote health and well-being among our students and really coordinating those efforts. Out of our lead a group of peer health advocates. So I'm going to let our peer health advocates, Hannah and Allison, introduce themselves tonight. So Hannah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, as Lily said, my name is Hannah. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a peer health advocate here on campus.
And Hannah, you can introduce yourself as well. Or Allison, sorry, you can introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Allison. This is my first semester as a peer health advocate, and I am absolutely loving it. So super excited to be here with you tonight.
Yeah, so our peer health advocates work to, again, spread health education among students. So really just working and learning together. And in our roles, we're all mandatory reporters. So that would mean if you did disclose to us that you experienced sexual violence or were the victim of a crime, we would need to report that to the university. There are numerous confidential resources that I can direct you to if you wanted to private chat me or anything if you were in need of that service.
Before we get started today, I just want to go over our Indigenous land use policy. We would like to recognize that the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse occupies the land of the Ho-Chunk people. Please take a moment to celebrate and honor this ancestral Ho-Chunk land and the sacred land of all Indigenous people.
Thank you for that. So we're here today to talk about how we as leaders can find balance in our lives between all of the responsibilities that we have. So we want to recognize that we know our students are really struggling right now. There's a lot going on in your lives and it's really kind of reaching a rough point in the semester and you don't really have a break and you haven't gotten a break. So we recognize that and we thank you for being here. If you or someone you know is in need of help, Counseling and Testing Center is a great resource on campus. We'll talk about them in a little bit at the end of our presentation. But if you ever are in need of immediate assistance or know someone who is, dialing 211 to talk with a trained professional. They're trained in crisis management, so that's a really good option. And I just want to take one more moment to think about our students that are struggling and hold space for Jules, our recent student who recently passed away. So just kind of take a few minutes and hold her in your thoughts. So thank you for taking that time. If anyone does need help, please reach out.
We also want to provide a brief content warning for today that we will be discussing mental health throughout our presentation because it's a vital part in balancing your responsibilities. If you feel overwhelmed or need to take some time, please do so. Always take care of yourself first and return if you're able to after.
Okay, so we're going to jump right in. Our first activity, we want to set the stage for what our presentation is all about, which is balancing time as a student leader and really that focused around the core of taking care of yourself. So I'm going to encourage everyone, including facilitators, to turn off their cameras, mute yourselves, which you all are, which is great. And then I'm going to play a guided meditation. It's about 3 minutes, deep breathing. just kind of pay attention to what you're noticing about yourself during that breathing. If your mind's wandering, that's okay and that's normal. Try to bring it back to your breath. So we're going to play this meditation. It's from an app called Insight Timer. So I'm just going to play that right now. Taking 10 breaths. If you're having difficulty focusing, or you're angry or upset, or feeling generally dysregulated, or you just want to take a moment to think before you act or react, then take 10 breaths to reset and re-engage at any time, in any place. Count your breaths along with me right now. Breathing in 1. Breathing out 1. Breathing in 2. Breathing out 2. Breathing in 3. Breathing out 3. Breathing in 4. Breathing out 4. Breathing in 5. Breathing out. Breathing in 6. Breathing out 6. Breathing in 7. Breathing out 7. Breathing in 8. Breathing out 8. Breathing in 9. Breathing out 9. Breathing in 10. Breathing out 10. If you get distracted in your thoughts as you're breathing, don't worry. This is absolutely normal and natural. As you notice your thoughts, gently bring yourself back to the breath and to the counting. Start again where you left off. If you don't quite remember where you left off, rewind this recording and just start over with breathing in 1 and breathing out 1. Okay, so I'm going to bring us back. Thank you all. If you were engaging with that, if you took the time to just stare at a wall, whatever you did, it was just 3 short minutes just to kind of take that time to truly relax. So I'm going to have you all in the chat. Let me know how that went for you, what you noticed about yourself in that moment when you were taking those deep breaths. So I'll kind of give an example. For me, I realized that I've had a super hectic day, and that was the first time that I was able to just like take a moment. And it was just 3 small minutes, but it really did make me feel a lot more relaxed and a lot more calm. So in the chat, let me know what you noticed, if your mind was racing, if you could focus on your breath, if it was helpful for you. Tell me how you did in the chat. How tense you were and how you were holding your tension, for sure. More relaxed. Super good to hear. Yeah, just a more intense day, I think, for a lot of us, an intense week for a lot of us, but just more of that easing of our thoughts and mind. Yeah, so just more of that physical feeling too of relaxing your muscles and relaxing your eyes. So Morgan, glad to hear you made a list of all the things you need to do tonight. We'll be doing another small activity. So Izzy, you felt more of that emotional response, but now you're feeling a little bit more calm and clear-headed. That's good. Can't hold your breath for that long. I know I not sound like I'm completely out of breath right now. So for sure, still hard to focus. Yeah. So I think that's a struggle for a lot of us. And that's where mindfulness practice has really come into play. Because at first it's like so hard to focus on other things because our minds race so heavily. Control over your thoughts. This participation, thank you all so much. More relaxed after taking the time and some just peace and quiet, just pure quiet, and felt more relaxed. Thank you all for engaging with me there. I decided to start off with this meditation activity for several reasons. So when we were brainstorming what to do for this program, we really didn't want to make it feel lecture-based for you all. Again, students seem to be struggling right now. So the last thing we wanted to do was have you show up to this voluntary program and get talked at, right? So chances are you as leaders are looking to find tips and things to balance your responsibilities, which is why you voluntarily showed up tonight. So you a lot of times are having too much on your plates with all of the things you have going on. So we wanted to really just set the stage here and focus on things that you can take away from this and do in your own life. If this 3 minutes was helpful, at the end, we're going to kind of walk through how to you get a free download and a free username, login, whatnot with your UWL email. So again, just physical, tangible things and activities that you can take away from this and kind of help incorporate into your life. So that's what we were going for this presentation. Just really focus on self-care and how that can be pivotal in helping you balance your responsibilities. So I'm going to pass it to Hannah now for our second little short activity.
Thank you, Lily. Hopefully after the activity, we're feeling a little bit refreshed, calmer, maybe even a little bit more relaxed. During our 20 or 30-minute presentation today, we want you all to be present and be able to put your worries and responsibilities aside for the small amount of time today. To do that, we're going to move forward and do a brain dump with all of you. If you haven't grabbed a piece of paper or journal yet and a writing utensil, we would love for you to go ahead and grab those now. If you've heard of a brain dump before, go ahead and put a heart reaction. I would love to see how many of you have utilized this before. So I'm glad to see a couple hearts out there. For those of you who haven't done a brain dump before, it's a really great activity to do when you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed by all of your responsibilities. Imagine someone taking their purse or a backpack, opening it up upside down, and dumping all the contents onto a table. That's basically what we'll be doing, but with our mind onto paper. We're going to go ahead and give you 90 seconds to write down all the things that you have to do that are swirling in your mind. And Lily and I will be participating with you. Whether it's tasks, assignments, emails, relationship problems, personal feelings, maybe you have some home improvement projects going on, health issues, things on your to-do list, maybe you forgot to get eggs at the grocery store, literally anything that is taking up space in your mind right now. Just make a list on your paper, and if you're more of a visual person, you can go ahead and add some drawings. This is your brain dump, and you can do whatever you'd like with it. So I'm going to go ahead and start our 90-second timer now. So go ahead and write down everything that's in your brain. All right, that is our 90 seconds. So go ahead and finish up whatever thoughts you have going on. I don't know about you guys, but my list got pretty long in just that short amount of time. So now that we have the list of all the things you need to do, it would be a great time to stop here. But today we're going to go a little bit further. Stopping here would be a good point because these things are no longer circulating in your mind. It's down on paper. All of your thoughts, responsibility, and tasks aren't going to go anywhere. So you don't have to work on remembering them anymore. However, today we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to go through our list again, item by item, and we're going to identify the items that are time sensitive and need to be done either today or tomorrow. You can go ahead and put a star next to those important items. So we're going to take 1 minute to do that, starting now. All right, hopefully you guys got to identify what is most important on your list. Now that we've identified what is most important, we're going to forget all the other things that you wrote down because they are not important for you to be focusing on right now. Again, we've written down all the things so we won't forget them. We know that they exist, but they don't need to be taking up space in your brain right now if they're not an urgent need to do. This can be a great activity for you to ground yourself if your mind is racing or if you're feeling really overwhelmed with the amount of responsibilities. This is something I really like to do before bed when my mind is racing and I can't sleep, just get all my thoughts out there. But thank you guys for participating in the brain dump with me. So we're going to go on to our next slide. So we can't pour from an empty cup. When you're on an airplane, we're always instructed to put our own oxygen masks on first, before helping a child or someone else. This is because you're not much help to anyone if you run out of oxygen and pass out. The same concept follows when you talk about mental health. Taking care of your own mental health is keeping your cup full. If you're not taking care of yourself, your cup is probably empty. And it's really hard to give to yourself and others and to fully show up for responsibilities if you have nothing left to give. Again, as a student leader, you have a lot of additional responsibilities. If you are burnt out or exhausted, you're likely not able to give all those responsibilities the time and effort that you might want to. As leaders, many of us probably share the same traits of extreme productivity and some level of perfectionism. Today, we're here to try and help you balance your responsibilities by focusing heavily on your self-care so that you can show up and be your best selves. Now I'll pass on to Lily to talk a little bit more about balancing responsibilities.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about why you might have trouble balancing your responsibilities as leaders on campus. Super stressful to be a leader on our campus. Campus is everywhere. Just being a student in general is really a challenging thing. So let's break down your responsibilities a little bit. You have schoolwork, which is the reason you're coming to campus, right? The reason you're getting a degree. You're going to have schoolwork. That's a priority. Next, we're all probably in some sort of clubs or organizations, groups on campus, jobs on campus, sororities, fraternities. So all the things that we do with our extra free time, which is so like short and sparing. And then next, many of us need to actually like feed ourselves and pay our bills. So we're working additional jobs somewhere in the community to make money, to do those things and really just support ourselves. And then all of that, and we have to fit our health in somewhere in there as well. And our social lives and every aspect of our wellness has to be fit in there. So we want to hear from you all. What other responsibilities do you have? Is this a comprehensive list, or what else do we have going on? For example, for myself right now, I'm job searching. So trying to update my resume, trying to get everything in order, and then like looking for jobs and applying for jobs and writing cover letters. So what else do you all have going on in your lives? Probably some things you wrote about in your brain dump as well. Maybe that was a comprehensive list. Oh yeah, family worries for sure. Checking in on your friends, especially right now. Just given the campus climate and what we're going through as a community, checking in on others, and then worrying about your social life, planning for the future. Oh, yep, internship searching. Yeah, finding time to show up for other people. Yeah, a lot of empathetic people in this group I'm sensing. Thank you for engaging with that prompt. So we live in this society transitioning, sorry, thank you, Thea. So transitioning between jobs, super hard, and just extra things that weigh on us, right? In addition to all the things we're already going through as leaders, life throws us curveballs. So we live in a society that just values hard work. It's very much work, work, work. So you can be successful later, so that later, like you can, like you're going to have a successful job, you're going to make money. But first, like in this stage of life, we're working hard. But many other things play a role into our success, and we know that. So, and the good news is we get to define our own success in life. I'm not a motivational speaker, right? So that sounded very preachy and motivational. But we're surrounded by this culture that promotes working yourself into the ground so that you can find a job after you graduate. And there's so many unknowns for you right now. So you're on that grind and you do it just because you fear the unknown a lot of times, speaking from my own personal experience too. So I remember my college experiences, right? Like I had a good time during college, but more so I remember how burnt out I was 100% of the time. So I had a lot of responsibilities like you all do, and you're here today to learn how to balance them. But like I would skip going to trivia with my best friends at Howie's because I was so stressed out. And I missed those memories. I skipped going to a Badger game in Minnesota because I was worried about finishing one assignment. I got sick 4 times a year throughout my college experience because I wasn't taking care of myself the way I should have been. And those are the things I remember just a super toxic, productive lifestyle that I lived. And still live. So I'm still working on it. I have not perfected it, certainly, just to be very transparent with you all, still working on building those skills. But just I'm here to tell you that we don't have to sacrifice our health and our well-being and our social lives to work ourselves into the ground. So in fact, being a leader and being in a leadership role means finding this balance and using assertive communication and role modeling that you're taking care of yourselves and role modeling to the people who look up to you, that you can make, like you can balance out your life as a leader on campus. All of that said, we're here today again to help you balance your responsibilities with the thing that's most important in your lives, which is taking care of yourself. So I'm going to let Hannah walk us through how we take care of ourselves and kind of what self-care means. I know that term's thrown out a lot, but Hannah's going to give us a few definitions and things.
Yeah, so I want to talk a bit about how we can better show up for ourselves and put our self-care first over all of our other crazy responsibilities. We want to talk a little bit about self-care versus self-soothing. When we are practicing self-care, we're doing things each and every day throughout the day to build up a strong foundation of physical and mental health. Self-soothing, on the other hand, are activities that feel good and are relaxing, but might not contribute as heavily to self-care. We often hear self-care described as its own scheduled out event, like, my friends are coming over for a self-care tonight. And that might include watching a movie, doing face masks, painting nails, and just other fun, relaxing activities. This is known as self-soothing. Self-care goes beyond what is fun and relaxing and really digs deep as to what you're doing to actually take care of your mind and body to build a strong foundation. Self-care is getting to 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, moving your body each day, eating foods that fuel you and your immune system, doing the things that you love, connecting with other people, setting boundaries, asking for help when you need it, knowing how you're feeling and allowing yourself to feel those emotions, and taking intentional deep breaths like we did at the beginning of this presentation. With all of that said, we recognize that self-care is really hard sometimes. It takes a lot of intentional, hard work. It takes effort each and every day to take time for yourself. That is the most important work that you can be doing for yourself. Like we talked about before, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are taking care of yourself, the people you work with will recognize this and respect you much more for it. I'm going to pass it on to Lily to talk a little bit more about balancing our responsibilities.
Okay, now we're getting into the bulk of like, okay, what are the skills and strategies we can actually do to balance our responsibilities? In this list, it's only 3 things, but they're no small tasks. So the first way to balance your responsibilities is to set boundaries. So we have to know what our own boundaries are, right? I'm gonna ask a question, just a simple yes or no in the chat, or maybe a maybe, yes, no, or maybe. The question is, have you ever taken on more responsibilities than what you could actually do successfully? My answer is yes. Okay, getting resounding yeses. Yep. Okay, so you came to the right presentation, right? This is the crew we're targeting and going after with this presentation. So we feel stressed out. We might not recognize it right away. We feel burnt out. The important thing with boundaries is knowing like what that level is for you. I feel like a lot of times we realize we're burnt out when it's too late because we get sick, our face breaks out, we're exhausted, we can't get out of bed in the morning, so many different things that mean we might be burnt out. But setting boundaries for yourself, knowing like, okay, I work until 8:00 p.m. tonight, like and I have 2 assignments to do, I probably can't take on this event, or I probably can't go to this event, or I probably can't actually eat out with my friends tonight because I have to take time to just rest. Knowing what your boundaries are helps you set those boundaries with other people. So that's kind of just doing some self-evaluation on your end, realizing what you've done in the past that's been too much for you, and kind of setting that stage and realizing, writing out what your boundaries are to present those to other people. So next on this list is asking for help when you need it. So this is such a simple thing that we can do, but it's so hard for so many of us. I just encourage you to think about it this way. Feeling it, like helping others, when you are the person to help others, it feels good, right? Like no matter what the help is, like if someone asks you to hold the door, if someone asks you to help them with their assignment, like it feels good when people are asking us for help and when we can provide that for others. This call seems like it's full of empathetic human beings, so I'm going to assume a lot of us feel that way as well. By asking other people for help, we're allowing them that opportunity to feel good. We're allowing them that space and that chance to help us and feel good, and we're benefiting. So we can ask for help simply when we don't know how to do something, and we can ask for help simply when we don't have the capacity to do something. Again, easier said than done, but if you can practice this like at little bits of time in your life, in not so high key situations like talking to your boss, but if we can ask our friend to help us do something, if we can ask a coworker to help us do something, asking those little bits of help from people can help us really practice that muscle and practice that skill. So when it comes down to it, we can ask for help when we're setting our boundaries, and we can ask for help really when it matters for us in our self-care. And then lastly, assertive communication and saying no. So we're going to dive into assertive communication on the next slide, but like we said many times before, your self-care is the first thing that you should be focusing on. That's your priority. And then after that comes your schoolwork. So again, we recognize you're at college for a reason. So school does take priority. After that, a lot of us have to work. We have to make money to survive. So having that work that we're just going to make the money, right? And then lastly comes in those like extracurricular activities that we throw ourselves at because we're nervous for the future. We want those experiences. We love the people that we interact with in those experiences. A lot of good things come from that lower tier, but it is the lower tier. So I'm going to move into our next slide with this. I keep mentioning it. It simply means balancing your needs equally with other people's needs. So on this call full of empathetic folks, I'm thinking a lot of us are more aligning with that passive style of communication. So that's where you put your needs lower than other people's needs. So you're doing a lot of things for other people and you're not really worrying about or caring about your own needs because other people need things. I love that about humans and I love that about empathetic humans. But it doesn't have to be that way. Your self-care is equally as valid as other people's. So I want to provide a few examples too of what assertive communication can look like. It's really not that hard to communicate assertively, and it makes a world of difference. So this is a way for you to balance your responsibilities. I can't wave a magic wand and make all of them go away for you all, but I can teach you the skill of assertive communication. So a lot of us have jobs. I worked at Qdoba during my undergrad experience. Allison works at Menards, right? So these bigger companies, Quick Trip, Qdoba, Menards, are very like strict in my experience. They're more like they value your work. They don't value you really as a human. And that can be hard. So I just really want to stress assertive communication, especially with these folks. It's harder to tell your job like, hey, I need a mental health day. But what this can look like, one of our peers right now is struggling because they get overscheduled by their like outside job and they're really not valuing her as a human. So like something like if you get scheduled for 20 hours a week and you only said you could work 15, you are setting your boundary saying I can work 15 hours a week and they schedule you 20. This looks like a conversation with your supervisor saying like, hey, I noticed you scheduled me to work an extra shift this week. So now I'm at 20 hours. I don't have time to work 20 hours a week because I have too many other responsibilities. So I would appreciate you removing a shift from my workload this week. If that's not possible, next week and following weeks, I'll just need to make sure we stick to that schedule of 15 hours a week. That's assertive communication. That's valuing your needs as much as it's valuing their need for you as an employee. So that's obviously a stricter example. The examples another example I want to provide is if we're working with like our fraternity or sorority, if we're working with our student organization on campus, our job on campus, anything that's happening on campus or within campus, those are a little bit easier to be assertive with because your supervisors, your advisors, your faculty, your staff know that you're students. So they know you're struggling. And a lot of times they'll value you as a human and they'll say, okay, yeah, like take that break. So this can look like one-on-one with your supervisor. Hey, I wanted to let you know that I have a super heavy week academically and my mind just kind of needs a break from everything happening. If it's okay with you, I won't be signing up to work any events this week or take on any projects this week, but I'm gonna rest up this weekend and hope that I can be more refreshed to do a little bit more next week. Super simple, super effective. So assertive communication, if you take one thing away, it's working on this skill for yourselves. So avoiding that passiveness and adopting that assertiveness is super, super valuable. So we're going to move on to the next slide.
So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Silver Cloud. We want this presentation to be about things that you can take away to help you manage your responsibilities and yourselves as leaders on this campus. In 2018, across the UW system, students filled out a survey and reported that there is a need for more mental health care. This led to the funding of a resource called Silver Cloud. Silver Cloud is a free, self-guided online workbook that allows students, faculty, and staff to access. There are modules on it that include information, activities, and coping tools to help address concerns such as stress, anxiety, depression, resilience, and one of my favorites, sleep. Silver Cloud is not a substitute for traditional clinical counseling, but can be a great resource for folks wanting to explore self-help and can be as effective as individual therapy for some folks. Again, we are here to push taking care of your mental health. This is a great resource that the Counseling and Testing Center offers. And if it's not right for you and you prefer talking to someone about anything that causes you struggles in life, you can set up a free consultation appointment with a Counseling and Testing Center. And they can get you set up with a counselor on campus, and you can meet with them for free. From personal experience, I know it can be intimidating to call and set up an appointment or even ask for help sometimes. However, the few hours I've spent with someone from Counseling and Testing Center have been so impactful on my mental health. Both Silver Cloud and the Counseling and Testing Center are great free resources for students, and we highly encourage you to try them out. And I'll pass on to Lily to talk a little bit more about an insight timer.
Okay, I was going to walk us through, but I don't want to take too much time. So we'll just go to the next slide. It gives instructions. So insight timer, I mentioned this earlier. That's what I use the guided meditation for. 3 small minutes that kind of made me feel more relaxed, made a few others on the call feel more relaxed. And you get a free account. So it's kind of like a more pro account for insight timer. Our version of a pro account. So I would screenshot this slide. It's super easy to set an account up. So uwlax.insighttimer.com. Use your UWL email address to create an account with a password, and then you can download the app. I have it on my phone next to my Headspace and Calm app. Oh, that's glary. That's horrible. Okay. Anyway, it's right there. And so you can download this app, or you can just bring up the desktop version on your computer. I highly recommend you download it. Great resources and meditations for sleeping, which I use often when my mind's racing, for just early morning meditation, times when I just need a guided like breathing activity. Lots of great resources within this app. So would recommend you download that. And then we're wrapping up here so we can move on to the next slide. And we can stop sharing our screen now, Allison. This slide's pretty much, and you'll have you reshare in a minute when we're done here, but I'll have Allison or Hannah kind of lead this section.
So we just want to provide a space now for people to talk about how they're doing. We recognize it's been an incredibly hard couple of weeks for students, and they're exhausted and really struggling. We just want to ask the simple question, how are you? And we really encourage honest answers.
I also appreciate you all sticking with us here and staying. I know this went 45 minutes instead of the 20 or 30 we were planning. So appreciate you all for sticking through with us. We have a 1-minute survey if you would want to give us some feedback on how we did. We crafted this program new. So we just want to know how it went for folks, what we thought about the activities. If you learned anything new from this, if it was helpful in any way, that's what we want to know on the survey. So I'm going to put the link in the chat here. You can also scan the QR code there just with your phone camera. Any phone camera recognizes QR codes. And then our social media, if you would please give us a follow if you want to stay up to date with what we're doing. We post a lot of good health info. We post about COVID-19. We do, I mean, not that we want to listen to and hear about COVID-19 all the time, but it's just kind of valuable information about the campus and yeah, and about health and student health. So if you want to give us a follow, please do. And then our survey is on the screen there. Link is in the chat as well. Anyone does have any questions or anything they want to say, I'm going to put my email in the chat. You can reach out whenever. If you just want to make another friend, I'm so here for that as well. If you want to talk about your future, I'm so down for that. I don't know about my own, but I love talking to people about theirs. So yeah, just email me anytime. I'm super excited to always hear from students because I love you all. So with that, we can have Allison stop sharing and we are good to go if no one has any questions. So thank you all for being here. I so appreciate it, and I appreciate you showing up to us even though you're burnt out and you're struggling. So I hope you all have some ways that you're coping and find some ways after this presentation to kind of set more of those boundaries for yourselves.